Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at CoreWeave. It is time for another update, and in the previous video we have managed to simplify the structure we have been tracking on this chart. Why? Because we have managed to create an additional high, a reset of what we have been previously tracking as a potential complete correction. So we can no longer track an internal A, B, C pattern, something like this, that would be possibly suggesting actually quite easily a failure of the white support zone, but instead we have to most likely consider a larger A, B, C pattern to be in formation currently. And I'm sure there are many convinced bulls on this chart that are certain we cannot form a reset, we cannot go to lower prices, that we are getting into new all-time highs directly. And I personally am not opposed to that idea. But the pattern that is currently available from these lows, right, from the currently available lows, isn't providing any strong suggestion that a bottom would be in place. It could be the case, but at this point, I wouldn't have any confirmation. So, for context for everyone, on this chart, we have been tracking this area of a larger 1-2 setup. It could be building instead an ABC pattern, but that is frankly not important until we complete the next move to the upside. We have provided this exact support zone for both scenarios ever since we topped within the wave 1. Actually, when we started covering this stock, which was somewhere around this movement to the downside, right? That's when we provided this area of support that was around July in 2025, almost a year ago. And we have been looking for the reversal ever since. We have been looking to build a 3-wave correction, which has been a possibility to track a couple of times, right? We had the first potential bottom when we built an A, B, C pattern here. We failed to create a reliable pattern to the upside. We had broken internal levels of support. We started doubting the reversal. We started looking for a potential reset. Sure, we extended a bit higher, but not long after, we formed a larger 3-wave move to the downside. Today, this still stands. This still is technically a possible bottom. But once again, we have failed to create a confirmation, a reliable pattern that would be suggesting a breakout or even a trade setup within a smaller time frame. We have created only a 3-wave move to the upside once more. And what we actually need to be able to identify a confirmation is a 5-wave move to the upside. This means we would have liked to see here a wave 4 and a wave 5. This is also what we are tracking on the larger time frame, but we haven't built this. Not only that, we have even broken internal levels of support for a potential wave 2 that would allow with more ease to track at least a larger leading diagonal. Yeah, something like a 5-wave move to the upside, but where the internal structure doesn't have an impulse in place. And we still extended higher, nonetheless, but now I can very easily track this as an A, B, C pattern within a flat correction, as this movement to the upside has a 3-wave pattern. We have a 3-wave correction, and then we have what can be tracked as a 5-wave move to the upside. This is a typical corrective pattern. Sure, it can build something more bullish. Sure, it can build even the idea of a leading diagonal still. But it's not something that is providing us any confirmation that a bottom within this wave 2 is in place. Only if we manage to build this as a larger 5-wave pattern will we have such an opportunity to look for such a setup, a confirmation. But so far, we have a 3-wave move to the upside, which is a corrective pattern. We can track it as a wave B. We have pushed into the 61.8% retracement, which is an extremely important Fibonacci level, and we have gotten rejected there. Primarily, I am personally focused on this orange scenario that would see a reset within the wave 2. But this doesn't mean we cannot look for the successful breakout. This does not mean we cannot track a potential 5-wave move to the upside even, and we have the yellow scenario for that, right? We would be tracking right now a wave 3 that would be currently in formation, where we have to consider a 3-wave move to the upside. Since we only have a 5-wave pattern so far, and we haven't even gotten anywhere near the ideal targets for a wave 3, we have to actually build another high before looking for a larger wave 4 correction and the wave 5 to be taking place. So, in the previous video, I provided you internal levels of support to track for this scenario. We have been tracking this area of an ABC pattern, where we strongly expect that within this wave B, we reach at least $98.7, and the support zone extends all the way down to the $76.8 level, the 78.6% retracement. And if we happen to get a sustained break below that, we would have a pretty strong indication that this wave C in orange would rather be taking charge. Now, technically, sometimes it does happen that we do not even get to the area of support, especially within wave B, but this is a rather rare occasion. And not only that, but in the previous video, I also provided you internal levels of resistance to track for a potential initial 5V move to the downside, right? We were considering something along the lines of a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We have provided this area of resistance. We actually needed to break for this scenario to not even be a possibility, but no, we have managed to follow through. We have managed to build a 5V move to the downside, and by the way, that's not the only possible count. I could realistically track it as something like a 1, 2. Here doesn't really matter. This area of resistance might have actually been able to go even a little bit higher. Yeah, I actually prefer this structure, but that's not the point. We have built an initial 5V move to the downside. This means that after a 3-wave correction into a relevant area of resistance for a wave 2 or a wave B, I cannot tell you at this point, we would expect with high probabilities that we would get at least another 5V move to the downside. This means that in the yellow interpretation, I could be tracking this idea of an ABC pattern to take us to this yellow area of support. Does this mean we will hold this area of support just because we can track this interpretation? No, because within the orange scenario, this would have been the wave B top and a wave C would be emerging. That wave C could have a wave 1 to the downside in place, a wave 2 up, and a wave 3 would now be in formation, of course, once we top within the wave 2, and take us to significantly lower prices, and of course, build the entire 5V move to the downside we expect generally within a wave C. So in the internal white structure, we will be tracking both yellow and orange interpretations, where right now I do not know if this is a wave 1 or a wave A, but for all intents and purposes, we would be tracking the same levels in both outcomes, okay? I will be tracking, for the sake of simplicity, a 5-wave move down, but if we happen to form a 3-wave move to the downside and even get a confirmation, let's say we build an initial 5-wave move to the upside afterwards, I will be looking for a potential trade setup because a bottom would be possible within this wave B in yellow. That's extremely important that we actually don't get more than 3 waves within this wave B in yellow, because then we cannot look for a bottom to be in place if we actually build also the wave 4 in this white count we are tracking and the wave 5. This means once again that we would have an initial 5-wave move to the downside within a large degree, which means I need to look for either a larger 1-2 structure or a B structure, both of which would be strongly suggesting that we should expect even further continuation to lower prices. Now, for the actual data, we are watching for resistance for continuation directly to lower prices up to $120, right? If we manage to get a sustained break above the 78.6% retracement here, right? Not just a push in the 1-hour candle a week or something like that. I want to see a sustained break for the indication that this structure doesn't actually need to extend any lower. And that might be actually a signal that we might have formed an early bottom. But again, given the structure we have formed here internally, the probabilities are rather suggesting that we would see continuation to lower prices. So, in this wave 2 or wave B, once again, this doesn't matter, I am looking for a 3-wave pattern to the upside. I could be tracking something along the lines of an ABC structure, where within this wave C we could be looking even for another high, but don't get too set on that one additional high within this movement, because this wave C would need to build a 5-wave pattern. this wave 2 doesn't need to be exactly an ABC structure. There are other types of corrections that could have a top in place, and there is even the possibility for me to consider the wave B to have bottomed here instead. For the indication that we will not be forming one more high within this wave C, I can provide some levels of support to be tracking, and that would be for an internal wave 4. In the idea of an impulse, which I would like to prefer here, I would be watching for support down to the 50% retracement, which means $110. I will not be tracking this movement to the upside, this extension in white actually, because this does not need to happen. This wave 2 could have already topped, but against $110 we can see another high and a reset of this wave 2. This is basically what is happening on the larger time frame. We are looking for a potential bottom, but we are also looking for extensions within the orange scenario. Now, so far it seems we have pushed only into the 38.2% retracement here within the smaller time frame, which is in fact the ideal target for a wave 4, but it is still too early to tell, and this is within a very small time frame, which is going to be quite difficult to track. The smaller the time frame, the less reliable it is going to be. If you want, you can also allow the wave 4 to go down to the 61.8% retracement in the case of this structure, the $109 level, in the supposed eventuality that this builds up as an ending diagonal within this as a wave C, but this doesn't need to be a focus at the moment. I personally would be using this as nothing more than a guide, and even that guide only for the indication that we would see the next wave to the downside to have already started. There are actually other ways we could see a reset within the wave 2, but for the sake of simplicity, we can let this be the focus, and for the general idea, yes, this could be building something like a larger A, B, C pattern within this as a wave 2. That is a possibility, but it shouldn't be a focus. What we should do is zoom out and plan for the larger time frame, depending on how this further unfolds. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoyed the content and want to support it directly, check out the channel membership. And other than that, let me know what else you would like me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I wish you a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.